How's it, guys? Um, so this is what I want to share today. Um, I don't have a history like religion was, whatever. Um, like your understanding of things like meditation and the kind of, I guess, religious activities that particularly require discipline, that require conscious effort. A lot of what, for lack of a better way of saying it, a lot of what I have achieved in terms of being a Christian has kind of just flowed. It's just kind of, sometimes I feel like I just kind of fell into it. What I mean is, for example, as a child, as a small child, my mom used to take us to church. That had nothing to do with me. I just went along. Obviously, when my mom went, I went. And years later, I connected with the choice of salvation through curiosity and a friend saying, "Hey, let's go here." And off I went. So much so that if you recall my earlier stories of how I got saved, I don't even remember how I got saved. I don't remember. I remember being in that class at school, but I was like, my friend is the one who says, no, we got saved then. She remembers, I don't. And then I feel like my walk with Christ has been like a drunken man's, staggering, zigzagging everywhere. No clear purpose, no head engagement really, hit and miss most of the time. And as a young adult and single mom of a small child at the time, Christianity for me was a desperate crutch, if you want to call it. It was that thing that they throw in the water when somebody's drowning, in the sea, that orange ring. For me, that's what it was. And I was just terrified throughout the whole thing. And not really quite purposeful. And even going to church. I went to church because I loved the people, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed praise and worship in particular. And I loved learning all these things. And also, in a sense, I could say, part of the sermons that I enjoyed was how it connected to things I'd been mulling on, things that that had occurred to me during the week. And suddenly there it is on Sunday morning, it's being preached. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I kept going and I loved it. I went to, most of my life, I've gone to primarily small churches where there's less than 100 people even. The biggest I think we ever got was maybe 150. And so what I'm saying is this. Now in this time, I feel like I'm in my second chapter in my life. And and it feels like the best chapter of my life because a lot of my actions are more deliberate and more, deliberate. I'm making those choices myself. And one of those choices came with learning grace. And that, though, I also fell into that one because I was not looking to know what grace. But I see the thread through my life where God has been calling me to grace constantly, and I was just not hearing Him. And I feel like I don't want to waste any more time not hearing God. And I'm done with the staggering, the zigzagging. And I mean, when I talk about staggering, I remember one time my son and I were waiting for a ride to home church, and we stood on the pavement and on the opposite side of the road, we were watching this guy, both of us. It's so funny. We were both watching this guy, and he was barely upright. And his entire body looked like cooked noodles trying to be firm, you know? And his efforts, I can only call them valiant. I mean, he was really working on staying upright and moving forward. This guy he didn't fall at any point, but boy, he came close so many times. So much so that every time, like, he would almost fall, my son and I both like, it's like, oh, he didn't, and then he wouldn't fall, and then off he goes again. And then there was a point where now, I guess, I mean, he's trying to get somewhere, He gets to the end of the road, and we can still see him. And he has to turn, and he did this incredible maneuver. So there's a stop sign, and this guy heads for the stop sign. So we're watching this guy, and he heads for the stop sign, and then he grabs the pole in the hook of his arm, and the momentum that had carried him to the end of the road swung him around, and he turned, and off he went, And I feel like that has been a lot of my Christian walk with God, just the staggering everywhere, nearly falling, sometimes actually falling. I mean, there was a point where this guy, staggered off the ledge of the pavement, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, please God, don't let him get in the road, get killed if a car comes, Thankfully, I mean, it's the middle of the week, and it's in the burbs, so it's quiet, so anyhow. So now I come to a point in my life where I'm like, okay, let's put the brakes on the zigzagging. And I don't want to make it sound like I came to some big epiphany and how I want to do things right. I've never been that kind of person. I'm more like, jump in and then we'll see if the water's got sharks in it or not. And then I panic when I already passed my neck in water and trying to swim. That's always been me. However, so what I'm saying is that God has carried me all these years, and I haven't been an easy passenger. Or a good one for that matter. I do. Honestly, I do. I feel sorry for God. I mean, he's had to deal with me, and trying to, like most of the time, I guess, try to keep me alive. So now, last night as I'm going to sleep, or was it this morning? But anyway, very recently, this scripture, John 10, where Jesus says, I have come that you may have life, and life more abundantly. I stopped there. I got, caught there. I'm like, he said it twice. He says, I have come that you might have life, and life more abundantly. And I'm like, what is this abundant life anyway, God? And what is this life, And I had a snarky thought that, I'm breathing. Is that life, And I got to thinking about the Garden of Eden. We don't know how long those two were in the garden, We don't know if the clock started ticking when they fell into sin, We don't know. That's my speculation anyway. And they had a life where they were just exploring, interacting with God. And when you read about it, they met with the Lord in the cool of the evening, So once a day, you could say. And it seems God was happy enough to just observe them, I guess. And I'm mentioning this to say, Jesus says, I have come that you might have life, and life more abundantly, right? And then there's a part where Jesus says, I am the way and the life. So he's come that we might have him, right? And then there's somewhere in the Bible that says God is love, right? And there was a time a few years back where I was struck with this keen need that I want to know what this love of God, what this loving is. Because I remember reading in Daniel, and God calls Daniel beloved, and I just lost my mind. I was like, what? How come you call Daniel beloved? You've never called me that. I got so mad I tossed the Bible, you know. I just got so mad. And and the thing is, when we put ourselves in a place where we are interacting with the word, and interacting, I mean we are listening to good, solid word, and um, we are praying, you know, talking to God, and we are reading our Bible. We get to know God's voice. We get to recognize God's voice, and when we hear His voice, we follow Him. And I think that's also about his sheep hearing his voice. I think it's also in John. Um, and so this whole long time, what I wanted to actually really focus, bring our attention to, is that we go through life. We go through life in all kinds of experiences, and we try to be Christians. But most of the time, most of us are just panicked Christians. You know, we are hoping against all hope that we really are saved, number one, because we have all these thoughts that we allow and we give attention to, because and that just constantly interfere with the peace that God means for us, with the life that God means for us. And when I talk about, you know, like the discipline and what have you, and this need that I was talking about, wanting to know about God's love. Joshua 1:8 says, keep this book of the law on your lips. Meditate on it day and night. And for the life of me, I can barely keep my mind still for longer than 3 seconds on one particular topic. My brain is just everywhere, okay, even when I'm concentrating. Unless I'm doing something physical and I'm actually, you know, focused on that thing. But to sit and to just, like how I see people, like particularly in the Eastern cultures, meditate, it's really impressive how these people really can. I mean, like you watch the monks and all of those people, and you watch people who do yoga and all of that. It is impressive for me, and I've kind of, you know, skirted around this particular scripture, because it's like I have no clue. I don't know how to meditate. Meditate is not my thing. It's like fasting, you know. I can go without food for a long time. I mean, during the day, and not even think about food until I'm nearly passing out, and then I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten, and then I'll go eat, or possibly a lot of times I will even just postpone it and postpone it and postpone it, because I'm just not interested. You know, I wish I didn't have to eat a lot of times, because it causes dishes. And which is why chocolate is my go-to. It's a wrap and I throw it away. Not good though. And when I look at meditation and the words saying to meditate, and so now with listening to quite a few teachings, then it's kind of settled now that no, meditation is not that very impressive activity that I've seen people engage in. Meditating is in the biblical context is It's a mulling over. It's a thinking about. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can do that, and I can do that, and I have done that. And then today, bing, light bulb moment. You know how when you have an encounter with somebody and they make you really mad, and at the time you don't have a response, and only after they are gone you've got several responses, you know. But what happens in one's brain, in your brain, in my brain, is that if you're the kind of person, is that you have all these scenarios that you go over. I could have done this, and then say that, and then say that, you know. And the person is long gone. You know, that person is long gone. You know, they don't even know you're thinking about them. You know, but the fact is, there's things, and that's mulling over. That going over and over and over a thing. It's like worrying. You wake up and your child is at varsity, the first year student, and you're like, oh, I hope they remember they've got to take their books. I hope that kid is not getting involved with the wrong kids. I hope, you know, and these are the thoughts running through your head. That's mulling over. On the positive note, you know, when you meet somebody and you are really taken by this person, and you're standing there doing the dishes, and in your head, you're not even seeing the dishes, you know, you're just seeing this guy or this girl. And as you wash the dishes, before you know it, you finish washing the dishes, but you didn't even see yourself wash the dishes because your head was just all over this person, you know? And that is the meditation that the Bible talks about. I mean, the part that says, and it shall not depart from your mouth, about in Joshua 1:8, it's the same thing when you've got this girl or this guy on your mind, and then you meet up with your friend or your friend calls you, hey, how's that? What you up to? No. And then the friend will ask, so how are things, you know, with your new flame? And it's like you couldn't wait to talk about this person. And you go on, and you go on, and you go on, and you go on, you know, between the two of you. You know, the thing is, your friend is not the one enamored with this person. You are, you know? And the ease of talking about this person didn't come out of, I've got to go talk to this guy. Oh, I don't want to see him. It's not a case of, oh, it's Tuesday. Oh, thank goodness. 4 more days. I don't have to sing for 4 days. Oh, thank goodness. You know, because we can treat Jesus like that. We can treat church like that. We can treat our Bible reading like that as a duty. And there's no pleasure in a duty. I don't want to lie. I'm not a dutiful child, you know, to my parents. I'm more a resentful child, you know. That's a story for another day. And but ask me to talk to my son or my friends or my brother or my dad's sisters, you know, or my cousins, and you flip a different switch, you know. If you ask me to, like, there was an incident where an aunt of mine, I don't know if I mentioned, but my son was in a catastrophic accident some years back. And that's a story for another time as well. In fact, I've been writing this book for a while now, hopefully. Anyway, you know, and I had to look after this child. And he was an adult already by then. And it was trauma. I mean, and I did my job, I did, and it was not duty for me. There was no way I would not have been that hands-on with my son, you know, at that time. It was not even a question. And um, to some extent, it was almost like back when he was a newborn, slept with one eye open and my ears always on call, my body is just like sleep time was just a pause and always alert. And so a relative, after watching and being, watching all of this, then she goes and says, "Oh, Neo did such an amazing job with, my son, with Lisady, and so she can look after all of us when we get old and sick." It was a hard no for me. That's what I said to him. I was like, hell no. You'll get sick, you're going straight to a hospital. I am not touching a single one of you. That was me. I'm being honest here. And be it what as it may, the point I'm making is our relationship with Jesus is not a duty. If we go to God out of duty, out of guilt, it's such a waste. It's like this relationship that I was, this fake relationship I was just making an example about, you know, it's like Jesus is the one who is enamored with us and we are not enamored with him. And I did once have a very fleeting relationship where this guy liked me more than I liked him. And he was such a sweetheart. He was so sincere. And I was just such a dimple, not interested as well. I liked him because he was cute, but I didn't like him the way he liked me. And it was awful. And I ended it because I was just like, no, this is not good for him. And I just felt bad all the time. And that's how we treat Jesus. Feeling bad all the time. Do we think that's what he wants? No. So when we grow in Christ by allowing God to love us and by meditating on his love for us, and he takes care of the rest. He is greater than anybody we could ever love. And he does amazing things relationally for us in a way that we can never explain because we don't know how it works. We just know that I'm just fascinated with God. I don't know why, but I am. I don't know how it happened, but here it is. And I have no regrets. And I don't feel compelled. But I don't know. Good luck prying me from Christ. Look, circumstances have worked against me to pry me from Christ, like a crowbar. And thank God, his hand on me is not slippery. He has not let me go. And I love that about Christ. He has not let me go. It is one of the most intense, amazing feelings to know that somebody will not let you go. And not because they're forcing themselves on you, but because they love you that much. So so this is a little bit that I've learned so far. And I still feel like it's so small, but it has brought me so much healing. And I know I've got still a whole long way to go. But guilt towards God in terms of how I process my hurts and all of that, where people are concerned, the guilt it's much less, and I know it's mainly because God is also working in me, There was a time in my life where forgiveness was not even on the radar. Vengeance was my thing. Vengeance used to be my name, my middle name. Oh Lord, and God has taken that away. God has removed that, and I am able to. I'm not there completely yet. It's not yet. Um, I guess organic, you could call it, a sense that I can say I am the beloved of God. It still feels weird saying it, you know. It does. It still feels weird. I guess it's like when I was first a mom, and I remember relatives asking me, "What's Lisette going to call me?" For us in my family, I guess, and many other uh, um, South African blacks of my generation, if you had a child and you're not married, that child did not call you mom. Because mom was a title that was meant for a married woman, a woman of a certain age, and not me. I was something else. So, the child either called you by your name, or called you like big sister, you know? Anyhow, and it just felt uncomfortable for the longest time, considering myself mom, you know? But that's what my son calls me now, and that is what I am now, and that's what I am most. It's one of my most beloved titles, but for God calling me beloved, I'm still getting used to it. I'm still learning it. It still feels weird. So from me to you, let the Lord love you. From me to you, I'll say it again. Let the Lord love you. If He can love me, He can love you. He loves all of us. However, we can also love Him. Okay, thanks, guys. I do appreciate so much every one of you who does tune in. And I try and I'm still learning all this YouTube business. Try and go through comments and things. So yeah, I do appreciate every single one of you. Cheers. God bless.